Hey folks, Eric here from DirtyLittleSneakers.com, and if you're watching this video, I'm going to assume you're a runner and you've either purchased the Garmin Epix 2 or you're considering buying one. And if you're considering it, I commend you for doing your research. Paying upwards of $1,000 for a watch is no joke, and you should really know what you're getting before you plunk down that cash. Okay, so let's start with some super basic information about the watch. You're going to get the Epix if you're one of the following: a gym rat, and I say that with love, an endurance sports athlete like a triathlete, a runner, a cyclist, or a swimmer. Now, if you're strictly a cyclist, I don't think this is the right workout tool for you, since the Epix doesn't have a huge display, and there are Garmin units that are made specifically for cycling. That is the Edge series. Let's say you're some sort of athlete and you want to record your data and track your progress, or just because you like looking at pretty graphs and lots of numbers. I'm not here to judge. You do you. You buy this for whatever reason you want. I'm here to help educate you. So let's get into what the watch can do for you as a runner and how it can help you. Let's look at the size of the watch first. It's certainly not small, nor is it the largest of the Garmin watches on the market. The Epix 2 comes in at 47 millimeters by 14.5 millimeters. The display, and this is one of the standout features of this watch, is 1.3 inches or 33.02 millimeters and is what is known as AMOLED. What does that mean? Technically, AMOLED is an acronym for Active Matrix Organic Light Emitting Diodes. This shakes out to a couple of things when it comes to what's on your wrist. First, it's a super bright display. If you saw my other video about this watch, which you can see over here, you know that the colors are crazy sharp and deep, and the black is really black. The screen pops and is nothing like you've ever seen on an endurance watch before. Probably won't see again either. Why? Because it's a huge drain on battery life. Now, I'll get to that in a bit, but know that the display on this watch is a standout and may be worth the price of admission alone. Now, you can use the watch as a daily smartwatch and have a constant tether to your phone via Bluetooth to get notifications on things like texts and phone calls. Unlike something like the Samsung Watch or the Apple Watch, you can't reply to texts or answer the calls from the watch itself. Now, I find this feature useful to see if the text or call that I have is important enough for me to get the phone out of my pocket and to deal with it that moment or not. Now, you can see your calendar, you can see the weather, control your music on your phone, and you can use it to find your phone. Now, I find this feature more useful than I would have thought. I wind up using it, I don't know, I want to say 2 or 3 times a week. Now, obviously, you can use it as a watch, and you have what I consider standard watch options, like unlimited alarms, a timer, a stopwatch, and sunrise and sunset times. The Epix monitors your stress throughout the day and gives you a metric on that. It also has a relaxation reminder, and along with the whole wellness movement, built in a relaxation breathing timer. It monitors your sleep and gives you a sleep score and insights into what's happening in your sleep and what you can do to potentially improve it. I don't know who would not need to improve their sleep. And it gives you a health snapshot. Now, this feature was introduced in the Venue 2 last year. It takes 5 metrics and distills them down into a single 2-minute measurement period. During that 2-minute period, it measures your heart rate, your blood oxygen level, your respiration rate, your stress, and your heart rate variability, your HRV. The overall idea is that if you measure it consistently, ideally at the same time each day, you'll start to get a bit of a snapshot of how things are trending. Now, Garmin also introduced a safety system a few years ago, where if you're connected to your phone, and you have to be connected to your phone unless you have an LTE watch, but for the Epix you don't, you can send an alert to a predetermined contact for emergency assistance, or if you bonk and just want to ride home. On the health monitoring front, you can track your heart rate 24/7 and get notified if it becomes abnormally high or low. Now, that's not workout high. That means if it just goes crazy. Now, Garmin's have features called body battery that they introduced a number of years ago. It basically tells you how rested your body is. It uses a combination of that HRV that I spoke about earlier, stress, and activity to estimate your energy reserves throughout the day. Now, it does take a while to get to know your workout patterns along with your rest and sleep habits, but it could be a good training tool to know if you're feeling fatigued because you're overtraining or you're just not getting enough rest. Is it accurate? I call it the get out of doing chores feature. See, I can just show it to my wife for justification for taking a nap on a Saturday afternoon. Dad joke. Now, because it's a watch for the endurance sports athlete, it has a number of sensors to help you track all of the metrics that you covet, like satellite sensors that include GPS, GLONASS, and Galileo. These are the three most common satellite tracking systems used around the world, GPS being the North American standard, Galileo the EU standard, and GLONASS the Russian standard. Think of them as different sports cars. They're all in the same category of car, but one is a Ferrari, the other is a Ford Mustang, and the third, well, I don't know of any Russian sports car brands, but I'm sure there's one out there, so you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. Why do I tell you this? Because if you own the Sapphire edition of the Epix 2, you can use what is called multi-band GPS. What does that mean? Multi-band GPS means that the watch takes advantage of multiple systems at once and gives you a more accurate read on your position and movement. Now, like I said in my last video, I didn't test this. It's beyond my skill set. But if you want to see some testing in action, Ray over at DC Rainmaker has a whole software system he's built to do just that. I'll link his video below. Besides satellites, the Epix includes Garmin's new Elevate wrist-based heart rate monitor, a barometric altimeter so weather prediction as well as ascent and descent metrics can be recorded, a compass, a gyroscope, and an accelerometer. Now, these two sensors work together to track forward and backward movements, sense gravity, and determine your body's orientation position and also rate of speed change. So for things like indoor running or swimming or some gym workouts. Also has a thermometer, an ambient light sensor. Now, this is added solely for the screen to know when to dim and or turn off. And a pulse ox blood oxygen saturation monitor. Now let's talk general metrics for athletic tracking. The watch tracks everything you've come to expect in a sports watch. Things like calories burned, floors climbed, distance traveled, intensity minutes throughout the week, daily steps. Now on the steps and floors climbed, you can set a daily goal or let the watch set it for you. Now I find that on steps, I leave it at 10,000 per day. If I let the watch set it for me when I'm in peak marathon training mode, it would have me aiming for like 100,000 steps on a rest day. No bueno. Garmin has what it calls a move bar, where the watch prompts you to get up out of your chair if you've been inactive for too long. There are different gym profiles that you can set to track workouts like cardio, strength, HIIT, yoga, and Pilates. The watch will count reps and will also give you on-screen animations to help you show what to do given a certain workout. Now, you get a training status score that lets you see if you're training effectively by tracking your training history and fitness level trend. You also get a score for your training load, your total training load for the last 7 days calculated from an estimated epoch. After each workout, you'll see your training load focus, your training effect, aerobic and or anaerobic, as well as a suggested amount of time for recovery. And I find this to be relatively accurate. Now, you can use an old activity on your watch to race it via the virtual partner, or use the virtual partner to make sure you're keeping up on a current activity's goal. Now that we've covered all the basics, before we get into the specifics for running, cycling, and swimming, we should talk about battery. Here's a handy dandy chart that I made showing you all of the options for using as much battery as you can or saving it for as long as possible. The obvious rule of thumb here is that the more options you're using, the quicker the battery is going to drain. Now, before I get into running specific options, I want to mention a new feature Garmin finally introduced on the Epix 2. And they're using a lot of fancy words for this. Garmin is calling this feature real-time settings sync. Basically, what this means is that you can go into the app on your phone, choose the number of screens you want and the data points on those screens for a given workout, and then sync it to your watch. It used to be that you'd have to do all of this on the watch, and it would take forever to scroll through all the options you might want to include. This simplifies the process. I mean, that is the understatement of the century, is that this simplifies the process. Hey, I need to break into my edit here because as I'm doing the overhead shots to show you all the different things that the watch can do, so it's not just a talking head, I realized that one of the features that I didn't talk about was the fact that it's a touch screen. I think it's because I don't use the touch screen, which is why I forgot it. But if you do, this is the first high-end watch. By high-end, I mean the more expensive and with the most features that Garmin offers that has a touch screen. So one of the things that I think is cool about that, even though I don't use it, the touch screen that is that you can set it so when you're using it as a smartwatch or when you're not doing an activity, you can use the touchscreen but then automatically you can set it to turn the touchscreen off when you're in an activity. So I did want to mention this because I know I'm going to get a bunch of comments about why I didn't. So I did. Back to the edit. Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the features for running. Now, I'm also going to get into swimming and cycling, like I said, because I think a lot of runners use these sports as cross-training, or at least I do. Now, there are a number of running profiles that you can choose from that will suggest different metrics for you to see while you're working out. The profiles include one called running, track, treadmill, indoor track, trail, virtual running, and ultra running. In addition to overall time and pace, you can get metrics for your cadence, for stride length, for your lactic threshold, a score on your running condition, a race predictor with the Epix included a historical trend line so you can see if you're getting faster or slower. And you can set it to do running workouts like surges, progressions, fartleks, and intervals. And if you're paired with the HRM Run or the HRM Try, you can see some crazy deep metrics like your vertical oscillation and ratio. That is the degree of bounce in your running motion and the cost-benefit ratio with stride length. I don't know who uses that. And your ground contact time and balance. That is how much time your foot is on the ground rather than in the air, and lets you check to see if you're favoring one foot more than the other. So your running symmetry. There's also a feature called Pace Pro Strategies, where in a nutshell, you can have your watch tell you if you're hitting your pace for a goal time during a race or a specific workout. Now you can load a course, and Pace Pro will analyze the elevation changes along the way to tell you when to go faster or slower on that specific course. Now you can sync the watch with Garmin coaching, so when you go to do your run for that day, the watch will have your workout already loaded. Or if you're not using Garmin coaching, you can easily add a workout to the watch itself or build it on Garmin Connect and sync it. Now you can configure your splits automatically by distance or by time, or you can set it so you have to hit the lap button to record a split. Garmin includes the real-time stamina measurement on the Epix 2, and it can be used for cycling or running. Simply put, the stamina tracking uses heart rate and VO2 max to determine how much gas you have left in the tank. You can view a data screen that will either show you the amount of time you have left at that current exertion level or the distance you can cover. I won't get into why you would want this in your head while you're working out. I covered that in my last video that I did on the Swatch. Again, you can see that over here. Now, there are a number of cycling features I find useful, given that I currently relegate cycling to cross-training. Profiles for cycling include biking, indoor, mountain, and triathlon. Now, you can upload courses and get turn-by-turn directions as long as it's on a street. That won't work for trail riding. You can race a previous activity, and it's compatible with all of the fun toys for cycling like power meter, vector support, and the Variolights and speed and cadence sensors. There are a lot of options for swimming, and I'm not going to get into all of them because that's just not the focus of this video. But open water swimming metrics on this watch include a variety that more than you'll ever need. The open water metrics include distance, pace, stroke count, stroke rate, stroke distance, swim efficiency or SWOLF, and calories burned. Pool swim metrics include lengths, distance, pace, stroke count, swim efficiency, that SWOLF again, and calories. You set the length of the pool in the watch before you get into the pool so it knows where to do, how to calculate your distance. Now you can track your heart rate from an external strap or use the built-in wrist-based heart rate monitor. It does work underwater. That's about it for this watch. It packs a wallop in this little package. If you want to get the Epix 2 for you or an athlete in your family or your friends or anybody in your life, I put a link below in this video. Just know that it goes to my Amazon associate account, so I will make a couple of shekels off of that sale, but at no charge to you. It just goes to fund the channel so I can buy more of these and do more reviews. And again, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button below, get this up into the YouTube algorithm a little bit more. It'll just get it into more eyeballs, some folks that might find this video useful. And if you like gear reviews, race reviews, or anything endurance sports related, I'm your guy. Please hit subscribe and the bell next to it so you get notified when I put new videos up. It's about every week or so. Thanks so much for tuning in, folks, and I'll see you next time.